Hello people of the internet. Well, I thought I would do a quick review of the Ohuhu water-based dual tip pens. Now I bought these off of Amazon. I bought them with my own money, and they cost just under £20 for a set of 80 colours. I've sorted them in colour order. Colour order-ish, and I think they look just lovely. They come in this really nice case, and this is actually a really nice case. The case is included and worth, you know, probably worth £12 to £15 itself, so that makes the pens really cheap. Now the reason why I bought these is because they have a brush nib on one end, and it's quite a big chunky brush nib, and they have a fine liner, and then the fine liner end is really difficult to get off. Really difficult to get off. There we go. And it's a quite a decent fine liner, and it's very similar to the Tri Plus fine liner Staedtler Tri Plus pens. But when I bought these, I actually bought these to be stand-ins for my Tombow dual brush pen markers. Because the Tombow marker pens, dual brush markers, are way more expensive than these. They're around £3 a pen. I needed around 60 to complete my set, so to complete my set it was going to cost about £180. So I bought these for 20, and I thought for £20, and I thought, well, there you go, I don't need to complete my Tombow set. Now the first thing I did, obviously, because the first thing anyone does when they get a set of pens, is I swatched them. And I swatched them first of all on this this is 160 GSM smooth matte HP matte professional card. It's a very light card, and it's very white, and it's very smooth, so you can see the colours, they come out quite vivid on here. There's a set of reds that could have been pretty much are interchangeable with each other. There's not much variance between them. There's two pinks here that look identical. There's a set of blues that are very similar as well amongst the pens. I mean, the outer bodies are a very different colour, but when you swatch them down they look very similar. There's two greens here that are almost, this one and this one, not much between them. The browns are quite nice, and I put the fluorescence at the end because I don't think I'm ever going to be using fluorescence. So first thing I did was swatch them onto this white cardstock, and I do have a video of me swatching them, so if you really want to sit there and just watch someone swatching pens, then you can watch that. The other thing I did was swatch them onto watercolour paper as well. So this is watercolour paper, and the reason why I did this was I've done this with my Tombows as well, and you can put a swatch down, and then you blend it out with a water brush to see how much of the watercolour effect, if any, if there is any watercolour effect from using the pens. And as you can see from these, there really wasn't much movement at all. Once they're down on whatever the paper, they're kind of down. There's a little bit of pigment moving with some of the colours, the reds, some of the pigment moved. Some of the greens, one of the greens here, the colour really blended out here on one of the greens, but most of them, and you know, the neons didn't move at all. Most of them were pretty much, you know, they're not watercolour pens. They have water-based ink in them, but once it's down, you're not going to really get much of a watercolour effect use them. So, and this is one of the reasons why I bought them, because this is what Tombow does really well. The Tombows, when you lay them down and then you blend them out with water, they actually really break down really well, and they blend out really well, so you can get some really nice watercolour effects with the Tombows. So once I've done this, I actually thought to myself, well, that's it. I'm not going to keep these, because I bought them to be, you know, stand-ins for Tombows, and they're clearly not stand-in for Tombows. But of course I had to give them a fair trial. So I got out a very cheapo colouring book. This is a kids colour by number colour book, and I give them a little test, and I was quite surprised because they actually laid down quite smoothly for water-based markers, because usually with a water-based marker, when you go over an area, it will make the paper, you know, peel, and these didn't, and they didn't go through to the other side, and I think it's because of the brush tip, and because with the brush tip is so, you know, you can use it like a paintbrush, so you can get a lot of pigment and less water. And so what I'm going to do is just going to give you a comparison with another type of felt tip pen. So this is you know, I bought these to be replacements for my Tombos. They're not, but let's see if they can be a decent felt tip pen instead. I'll do this comparison on just some photocopy paper, office paper, whatever you want to call it. Let us just get a blue, and this is a cheapo Staedtler Norris Club felt pen. So it has a felt pen top, and if I do that's actually not too bad, is it? If I do a bit of a blob, let's zoom you in. Maybe I should have had something that I could draw on. These aren't. Well, let's go over it a bit more. You can feel the paper squishing underneath there. We have gone through. It is quite thin paper. It wasn't too bad actually. It is quite a fine nib on those though, to be quite honest. And then the other felt pens that I have are Pentel Studio set, Pentel Arts. That's had a couple of tea spilt on them. Let's get a blue one from here. Oh, that one. That's not very many blues in there. They all look sort of greeny blue. Okay, we'll go with this one. It's got a name. No. Oh, these are scratchy. Scratchy, scratchy, scratchy. Oh. These are going to go through as well, which they have. So then if I compare that to, let's get the dark one out. So this is the Ohuhu brush one. So you can see it's much, because it's a brush nib, it's easier to sort of, I don't know, cover a large area easily. They're nice to use, they feel nice to use. Of course it did go through as well. It is a water-based pen. Okay, zooming out a tiny bit. This one will do. This is just you know, some kind of geometric pattern. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use the Ohuhu marker first with its brush tip. Number 5 is blue. Number 5 is blue. Actually, I'm going to do number 4 as blue because I want to do these big chunky bits here. So let's just lay this down. This is the thing about having a brush nib. You feel, or tip, you do feel like you're doing more. Don't get me wrong, they're still streaky, but you do feel like you're doing something a little bit more arty. Just go over it the other way. So there's a second layer going on there. Just really see whether we can stress the paper out. Okay, so that's the Ohuhu. Should have probably zoomed in a little bit. Right, let's use the Pentel fine point fibre tip pen. Oops, that is quite a fine point. These aren't actually bad felt tip pens. Well, this is actually not bad paper in this colouring book, to be fair, because it's not cheapo. Let's go over this again. I'm feeling a little bit of resistance. I'm not sure whether that's the paper or just the pen. Okay. Just missed a bit there. You can see that. And then the last one we're going to do is the Stedler Norris Blue. It's got a really fine tip on these. Ooh. Should have picked a smaller square, shouldn't I? A smaller shape. These actually don't lay down too badly in this colouring book. Recommend this colouring book for children. Right, let's go the other. I'm trying to turn you around like I normally do. When you're not here, I turn my colouring books around all the time. Someone's probably going to moan at me because I'm doing it with lines and not whirly-whirlies. Maybe we just do a whirly-whirly again in a minute. And that's really interesting because none of them have made the paper peel. None of these pens have made the paper peel at all. But none of them have pulled the paper up. And none of them. Am I on the next page? I think it's quite big. None of them have gone through at all either. Yep. They are basically there. Hold it up to the light like this. You can see the shapes through the other side, but there is no coming through at all. So all three pens actually performed really well. I didn't expect them to. These pens, which colour am I doing this blue for? Let's just do a little bit of scrumbly. We'll go over and over and over. These pens, because they have a brush tip, you do feel a little bit more arty when you're using them. You feel a little bit, you know, a little bit more adult, as though you're using a paintbrush. So they may, you know, they may therefore be suitable for older children, you know, children that have got a bit better motor skills and have consequently not going to squish the nibs to oblivion. So they, you know, fibre tip pens really usually have stiff nibs, don't they? So they've got a chance of, I don't know, using the sort of the brush end without destroying it. So maybe it's, you know, 10 and above. And this is interesting. I've done the scrumbly on this as well, you know, like the circles. And you can see the lines. You can't, I can. You can see the sort of lines. It's smoother on the brush pen than it is on that one. And we've got one more to do. We've got the Norris to do on the number 4. So we just do this as well. Scrumbly. Oh, it's hard work with a small nib. None of them are going through the paper. This is a very good paper in this cheap colouring book. Very good paper indeed. Give it another layer, trying to even it out a bit. Okay. I think the Ohuhu's laid it down just a little bit smoother because you could get an even coating quicker. So then the other thing I'd like to compare is the end with a Tri Plus marker because they are very, very similar. Oh, really difficult to get off the ends. There we go. Ooh, where are you? You're there. You are there. So just get a Tri Plus out. Probably got one in my drawer. I usually have. Oh, I've got this one. A Tri Plus fineliner, and they are. I should have left that off. These are really difficult to get off. They're very similar. Well, I suppose they're a little bit the tips are a little bit longer. Is this ever going to focus? Yeah. So the tip, the bit that sticks out, a little bit longer than the Tri Plus, the actual coloured bit. So they are nice actually. This is a lighter blue. They work very similarly to the Tri Plus markers, to be quite honest. And that's one of the reasons why I've decided that I'm going to keep them. As much as I bought this set of pens to be a stand-in for my Tombow markers, they really, though they have a nice soft brush nib and they colour quite nicely if you use them, I found that this end, the Tri Plus, the Tri Plus end, the fine liner end, is a good dupe for the tripless ones. So I won't be using these instead of my Tombows. If I ever need a brush nib that I want to blend out with water, it'll be the Tombows. If I ever want to use a felt pen, it'll probably be these. These are a good replacement for a standard felt pen. I think they're particularly good. You know, £20 for 80 colours. That's a decent amount of money to give to some, you know, a kid to use. So maybe not a little kid, but maybe sort of like a slightly older kid, you know, I don't know, 10 and above, when they want their fine motor skills are a little bit better and you don't want them sort of like scrubbing the nibs away. Because the nibs, they do, some of them are really soft. And some of them are a little bit harder. But the soft ones are really nice to use when you're colouring. It's just really nice. It feels like you're using a paintbrush. So all in all, for the money, for the £20 that they cost me, and I did buy them myself, I didn't get given them or anything like that. I was thinking about sending them back because they was like, they're not as good as Tombows, and they're not as good as Tombows. But they're really nice fibre tipped, felt tipped pens, and they've got a really nice fine liner end, which really is comparable with the triplus, triplus fine liners. And this is more colours than I've got in my set of triplus. I only have a set of 30, I think. So yeah, all in all, I'm keeping them and I recommend them. So thanks very much for watching.